Peace be to you all. Assalamualaikum. Omar here, physician associate, health educator, middle-aged endurance athlete, and family man. So today I got a break from seeing patients, so I thought I would talk to you guys about your personal statement. Those of you who are applying to PA school. This may apply to you if you are applying to medical school or nursing school or any type of very competitive health program that needs a personal statement. So the personal statement is often a very challenging thing to do for many people. Not just because many of us aren't necessarily taught how to write well for certain instances like a personal statement. It's because it's something in which you've got to describe yourself, and a lot of times we don't like describing ourselves or our situation. So I try to give you guys some tips. I'll tell you a bit about myself. I've been a PA for more than 20 years. I sat on admissions committees for PA schools, and I've looked over hundreds of personal statements. So I've got a pretty good idea of what constitutes a good personal statement. Number one, go through the personal statement. This is probably backwards on your computer or your phone, whatever you're looking at. A good idea to start with is life experience. So if you're going to write a personal statement, let it be about something that you experienced. How something influenced you, how that life experience influenced you. Then your healthcare experience. So as PAs, if you're applying, you've got to have something called direct patient contact hours. So preferably you've worked as a medical assistant, phlebotomist, maybe even a nurse or something other in the allied health field before applying to PA school. And you've also hopefully have shadowed somebody. That's usually a requirement for many schools. So you can talk about how that experience molded your idea or your desire to become a PA. Also, if you worked with any PAs, that's a good idea. I've got some students that are shadowing me now, so they'll have quite a bit to write about in their personal statements. Also, if you've suffered any illness, or maybe a family member of yours is experiencing illness, and that's how you came into contact with PAs. Or you can even write about how that illness or the family member experiencing illness drove you to want to know more about medicine and eventually become somebody who was knowledgeable enough to at least understand what was going on and maybe intervene to some extent. You can also talk about a health-related job that you had. I was a nursing assistant for 8 years or 5 years before I applied to a PA school. But I worked for another 2 to 3 years while I was in PA school. I'll do another video about that in the future, inshallah. If you're a veteran, I think a fourth of my classmates were veterans. In one of the branches of the armed forces, there were some Marines, some Army folks, and some Navy folks in there. I think an Air Force person or two. So you can talk about how, if you had combat experience, how that affected you and kind of molded your interest in becoming a PA or a doctor, depending on what you're applying to. If you are a sports person, I'm also a marathon runner. I was running marathons before PA school. I'm still doing them. That really also played a role in me becoming a PA. Somewhat of a fitness nut, but also it taught me endurance and the discipline of training. So I wrote a bit about that, and even I talked about that in my interviews also. When I was interviewing for PA school, you can talk about the people that helped mold your desire to become a PA. So I did a video with one of the people who I consider to be a pioneer in PAs, in particular Black PAs in in the U.S. And this was Bashir Ahmad and Mr. Sneed. So these guys aren't even working anymore. They're retired. They're some of the first PAs, or black PAs rather, in the U.S. Mr. Ed Williams too. These guys were back from the early 70s. So you can write about all of those things, or a combination thereof. So I hope you guys found that helpful. I'm available to look through you guys' personal statements if you want. Again, I'm an experienced PA. I've been on the admissions committees of different schools, so I've had to look through a lot of these personal statements. You want your personal statement to stand out. Make sure that you've got somebody to look over it, check it for grammatical errors, check it for what I would call a grammatical flow. You don't want it to be awkward, because if you're on a admissions committee, as I've been, if you're watching this and you happen to be an experienced PA and you've had that opportunity to look at students' personal statements, you know that it gets boring after a while and tedious. So you want your personal statement to be good. All right, that's it for now. I wish you guys the best of success in your positive endeavors. Take care. Peace.